Last week, I finished all of my second opinion consultations and meetings and additional tests, which basically included another trip to MD Anderson and more tests, which was blood work, a full body PET CT scan, a few other little physical exams, and a lot of consultations with the doctors at MD Anderson. Uh, and honestly, a whole lot of thinking and analyzing all this stuff going through it. Uh, just to be clear, my whole point of getting a second opinion was not that I was looking for a different diagnosis or a better, more favorable diagnosis. I was doing it more as an affirmation of the diagnosis, and then to really make sure that I had the best treatment plan that I could come up with, basically. Uh, I have made the decision that I am going to move everything to MD Anderson, all my treatments and surgery and everything. And I base this really on three things. One is that it's one source for everything. This is one facility that houses all of the doctors and treatment and surgery. And you have one source to deal with. I actually have one point of contact for everything, which is a huge difference from what I am experiencing now with oncologist here, a radiologist here, a surgeon over here, a hospital over here, and I have to coordinate everything in between. It takes a lot of stress out of it. The number two thing is in my first meeting at MD Anderson, one of the things that we talked about was long-term. What does 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the road look like? What are we doing about that? How does treatment now affect what we're going to be doing or may have to do in the future, or how do we stay away from any treatments in the future? This is the first time that I've actually talked to anybody about that. So that was encouraging to me, actually. The third reason is they were concerned, MD Anderson is concerned about finding more the source of the reoccurrence and finding out how to best treat that so we don't have a reoccurrence again. And Las Vegas immediately said that I was not a candidate for any additional chemo or radiation or anything. And yes, it's true, you cannot radiate the same spot twice. But MD Anderson's view on chemo is different, where there are other chemo treatments available that are more immunology related for, again, 5, 10, 15 years down the road. How is what may be still floating around in my blood, how is that being treated? And so we're looking at a program of additional chemo, and talking with their surgeons, their technique is a lot different than what was described here. They don't believe in just cut everything out and then see what's left. The MD Anderson approach is much more targeted and succinct, and it was a major deconstructive and then reconstructive process in Las Vegas, where after my exams and testing at MD Anderson, they said they don't feel that that's necessary at all for me, that we don't have to do muscle grafts and skin grafts and the other end of the more complicated end of the procedure. They said that they don't need that. They actually drew out on me where they were going to cut and everything, which again was very reassuring to me. And it just felt better that we were talking in these kind of terms. The the bottom line of it is I still have to have the surgery. I still have to have basically the same stuff removed. There's no other way around it at this point, where I just have to have more stuff cut out because of where the new tumor is. But it is a different approach to it, and one that I feel is a little more logical and makes a little more sense to me. The other thing I've realized, kind of in comparing these two approaches, is Las Vegas initially I liked because the surgeon was part of UNLV and teaching at the School of Medicine. But that's a big difference between what MD Anderson is and what the Las Vegas team is, because MD Anderson is research oriented. And I've kind of arrived at the conclusion that research is better. Dealing with a research facility, they have more data to back up what they're doing, and they're looking at more current things. They're the ones that are coming up with the more current ways to treat things, and they have access to more records, basically, and more data to compare everything to. So it's the difference between instructional and research-based, I think, is huge. And again, I feel more comfortable on the research side. So basically, that means I'm going to have a lot of logistical issues to deal with going back and forth, but we'll work that out. And MD Anderson even says they have sources for that. So that'll be kind of taken up in the next series of things. It's going to be a little more work, a little more cumbersome on the logistics side, but I think from the standpoint of organizing everything, it's going to be a lot easier. So I feel good about the whole thing, and I'm ready to get started on it, but nothing's going to happen for at least a week. Basically, we've got a couple more tests to do. They have to put the port back in for the chemo, which doesn't thrill me, but oh well, just had it taken out, whatever, like 8 months ago. So anyway, nothing's going to happen in the next week. Everything will happen the week after at the earliest, and we'll proceed from there. So that's the next step. Later.